Thanks for subscribing and liking. Now let's begin the story. When I first arrived in the city, the air smelled like rust and rain. The kind of smell that clings to your clothes, that reminds you you're somewhere you don't belong. The buildings were gray and heavy, their windows hollow like eyes watching from above. I didn't know the language well, barely enough to order food or ask for directions. Everything felt distant, blurred. I was staying in a cheap hostel, sharing a room with a guy I'd only met 2 weeks earlier. Somehow, we'd gotten close. Maybe it was the shared loneliness, maybe just circumstance. That day, we were wandering the back streets when we saw it. An old apartment building at the end of a narrow street. The paint had peeled away in strips, the windows were shattered, and a rusted sign hung above the door. Letters long since faded. He pointed at it and said we should check it out. The way he said it made me uneasy, like there was something waiting in there. I laughed it off at first, but something about that building pulled me in. In a city full of noise, it was the only place completely silent. The front door was locked. He picked up a piece of metal from the ground and forced it into the keyhole. The lock gave easily, almost too easily. When the door opened, a thick wave of stale air hit us. Dust, mold, and something else. Something sweet and rotten. We stepped inside. The staircase was made of concrete, but our footsteps echoed like we were walking inside a hollow body. The walls were cracked and swollen from moisture. Every step sent fragments of plaster tumbling to the floor. On the first floor, we found doors numbered in fading paint. He stopped in front of one that read 103. Light from outside barely reached the hallway, but we could see the faint outline of the doorframe. There was a draft coming from underneath, and in the layer of dust near the threshold, there were marks, like someone had dragged their feet there recently. I didn't want to go in. He pushed the door anyway. It creaked open, and darkness spilled out like smoke. I turned on my phone's flashlight. The beam fell on a broken chair, an old couch, and a painting half hanging on the wall. But what froze me wasn't the furniture. It was the wall behind the couch. A large handprint smeared in something dark, the fingers unnaturally long. He laughed. "Probably paint," he said. But it wasn't splattered from the outside. It looked like something had pressed through the wall. We moved deeper into the room. The ceiling had collapsed in one corner. A single shoe lay near the doorway. The other one was nowhere to be found. Then something hit the floor above us. A sharp, heavy sound that echoed through the ceiling. Dust rained down. We both froze, staring up. "How many floors does this place have?" I whispered. He didn't answer. We climbed the stairs. Each step moaned beneath our feet. On the second floor it was darker, colder. My phone battery was dying. A low warning beep broke the silence. He walked ahead, swallowed by the dark. When he turned around, I could barely see his face. He said softly, "Someone's here." I stopped breathing. "What do you mean, someone's here?" He pointed down the hallway. At the far end, one of the doors was cracked open. No light came through, but from inside came a faint scraping sound. Slow, steady, like nails dragging against concrete. We crept closer. The closer we got, the quieter it became. By the time we reached the door, the sound had stopped. I shined the light inside. A mattress frame, a desk, shattered glass. Empty. I was about to turn away when I noticed something on the desk. Letters drawn in the dust. Not English, not any language I knew. The lines looked fresh. The dust hadn't settled yet. My stomach tightened. He just shrugged. Probably some squatter living here, he said. I wanted to believe that. Then we heard another sound, this time from below. A door slammed hard, followed by footsteps, slow and deliberate, climbing the stairs. The sound echoed through the building, each step heavier than the last. He whispered, "Someone's coming up." We held our breath. I pressed myself against the wall. He ducked behind a doorframe. The footsteps stopped right below us. Then nothing. No movement, no sound. Just the weight of someone standing there, listening. A few seconds later, the steps started again, moving upward. 3rd floor. He reached for the next door handle. I shook my head. He ignored me and turned it gently. The door opened without a sound. We slipped inside. This room was different, cleaner. The floor had been swept. There were blankets in one corner, a few bottles, and a notebook. He picked it up. The date on the cover, 3 days ago. He flipped through it. The handwriting was messy, but a few words stood out. 3rd night. The sound comes from inside the wall. If I hear it again, I won't go downstairs. Then the ceiling creaked above us. A dragging noise moving slowly across the boards, from one side of the room to the other. My flashlight flickered and died. Darkness swallowed everything. I could hear my heart pounding, hear his shaky breath. He whispered, "We should leave." We started for the door, but before we could touch it, footsteps echoed again. Running this time, fast, desperate. The light from another flashlight cut across the hall. Someone was coming up from below. We froze. The light stopped outside the door. A deep voice shouted something I couldn't understand. The tone was angry. We slammed the door shut and locked it. There was a small window in the back, but it was barred with rusted metal. No way out, huh? The light slid under the door, painting our shadows across the floor. The handle rattled. Then came a bang, and another. The wood started to splinter. He whispered, he saw us. A final crash, and the door split open. The light flooded the room. A man stepped in, face hidden in the glare, holding a metal pipe. I stumbled backward. My friend tried to speak, but the man didn't respond. He just swung the pipe. The sound was sickening, heavy. My friend fell. I couldn't move. The man turned toward me. His eyes caught the light, blank, almost colorless. His lips were cracked. He looked like he hadn't spoken in years. I ran. Out the broken door, down the stairs. My shoes slipped on the dust. I heard the metal scraping behind me, echoing off the walls. I didn't dare look back. The 1st floor exit was blocked. Piles of bricks and debris sealed it shut. It didn't make sense. Who would block an exit from the inside? I tried to turn my phone back on, but the screen stayed black. Somewhere above, the man was moving again. His footsteps echoed like slow heartbeats. I found an old wardrobe near the corner and crawled inside. I pulled the door halfway closed. The space was tight, filled with dust. I covered my mouth and listened. The steps came down the stairs, one by one. He stopped right outside. The shadow of the pipe passed through the crack in the door. He stood there, breathing. Then he tapped the wood once, hard. The sound vibrated through my chest. Silence followed. Then his steps retreated, climbing back up. I stayed there for what felt like hours. When I finally opened the door, the hallway was empty. I couldn't think, couldn't feel anything, just needed to get out. At the end of the hall, part of the wall had collapsed, leaving a narrow gap. I crawled through, scraping my arms on the bricks. Cold air hit my face. I was outside. I didn't look back. I ran until my legs gave out. When I stopped, I turned. The building stood quiet against the gray sky, windows black and empty. For a moment, I thought I saw something move, a curtain shifting, like someone watching. I kept running. I didn't stop until I reached the hostel. I locked my door and sat against it, shaking. My clothes smelled like dust and mold. There was a thin cut on my forehead I didn't remember getting. I didn't sleep. Every sound outside made me flinch. The wind against the window, the hum of the radiator. I couldn't get the sound of that metal dragging out of my head. In the morning, I decided to tell someone. I went back to that street, trying to find the building, but when I got there, it was gone. The whole block was cleared, an empty lot of fresh dirt. No rubble, no remains, no address. A man walked past me, brushing my shoulder. He was holding a rusted metal pipe. Our eyes met. His lips were dry and cracked, and then he smiled.